Greetings out there in YouTube land. This is Morris Man. As always, I thank you guys for coming to my channel. Today I tried to get closer to the window because sunlight is a camera's best friend. You can have all the artificial lighting in the world, but ain't nothing like sunlight to just really give you a good clear picture. And I'm going to entitle, well actually I'm not quite sure what I'm going to entitle this video, but you'll see the title as you're watching this. Because every now and then I have conversations with musicians that ran in my circle at the beginning in the 80s, you know, developed a lot of great musical friendships during that time. And some of them are still, still alive and well. And we talk about everything, not just the music aspect, but the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, or not necessarily behind the scenes, but going on also. And I guess I'm going to entitle this video something along the lines of young musicians beware, because everybody knows the answer to this riddle. What is man's biggest weakness? There you go. Women, and sometimes that weakness can get you in trouble and actually get you killed, So being a musician, we would run across this. And let me say this first. I was the average young horny dude, but I think what was different about me was I was extremely selective, and I kind of knew when things wasn't right or it was just about this. So it's like, okay, if it's about this, that means something else is going on in the background, And you got some men, they just kind of want to ignore this and say, hey, for the moment, I'm taking my pants down and getting busy. And I'm like, I was never that kind of guy, because first of all, and I'm going to say this and then I'm going to get into the story. Me personally, I guess I was a little different, because I'm like, I got to really like somebody to do this kind of stuff. I can't meet somebody today and then in the evening we got our pants down. It's like, that's just not me. And that, aspect about me have, I'm sure. Sorry about that. Testing. Could have saved my life a lot of times, or have saved my life a lot of times. And unfortunately, some of the band members that I was playing in bands with, it didn't save their life. I had a few band members in some of the bands I played in the 90s that died from AIDS, and they got AIDS from messing around with all these women in the audience at any given show. So here is a couple of interesting ones, as far as some of the stories. I remember when I first started kind of playing and kind of making the name about, making a name of myself in Chicago, and I was living in Chicago, Illinois. And I remember I came from a rehearsal, which wasn't too far from my house. And at that time, my car was, had some, car issues. So I took the bus because it was like, it's just 2 blocks to the bus station, and then get on the bus, take a straight shot. Then about a block away, is the rehearsal spot. And I had my guitar with me. And when I got out of rehearsal, which was not real late, it was probably about 8 o'clock, 8:30. It was on a Saturday. And so it was, of course, dark, and I was on the bus stop. Again, not too far from the house. So this car pulled up, and the car had about 3 women in it. And they said, hey, you kind of cute, and you play guitar? And I'm like, yeah, I'm in the band. Would you like a lift? And I paused for a minute because I'm like, initially I want to be like, yeah, sure. And then I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? Women set you up like men set you up. I was like, I said, thank you, but no thank you. And they was pressing hard to get me in the car. You sure? It's not a problem. I'm like, no, I'm fine, but I do appreciate, your kind gesture. Now, that could have been innocent. It could have been, but I was like, you know what? I'm not willing to take that chance, because I'm like, hey, I'm not stranded somewhere in another state and I can't get home. I'm like, I'm just literally down the street from where I live at. So I'm like, thank you, but no thank you. Because there have been stories that I've heard where people got set up that way. They got in the cars, like, don't never get in strangers' cars. Didn't it? You were told that when you were a kid, But here is another one that was pretty interesting. I was playing at a club. It was called the Copper Box. It was on Halsted, I think about 117th and Halsted. And we played there quite often. I used to love that place. So we did one of our sets because we were doing 2 sets that night. We did one set, Then, we get a break. Then, we go down and mingle with the audience or, drink if you're a drinker. So I was a big dancer. I used to love to dance. So I asked this lady to dance, one of these songs after, like I said, in between our sets. She obliged me. So we dancing. Then the slow song came on and we continued to dance. And normally this is what men do to kind of try to initiate this, because we usually the initiators. If it's if you're feeling the song and feeling the vibe of the moment, we try to sneak in a little midsection grinding, and it is what it is. And so I was dancing with her, and she initiated. She was grinding kind of hard, and my bottom part or downstairs responded to that. It's like, whoa, what's going on here? And she asked me, and I forgot how she actually said this, but she said, I got a van out in the parking lot. You want to go get in the van, And I'm like, and I kind of froze for a minute because I'm like, how do I respond to that? Yeah, I want to go out into a van with a stranger that I just met 5 minutes ago. And I said, thanks, but no thanks. Now, I found out later that there were some women in conjunction with some men that were setting guys up that way. They use the woman as the decoy, get you all hot and bothered, and then the woman, just to go out into the parking lot, she got a van out there, and these guys went, they took the bait, they were like mice smelling cheese on a mousetrap, and they got robbed. And it's like, you know what, I'm glad, even though I wasn't going to take that up, because like I told you, and I kid you not, I was not one of those guys that any opportunity that arises, there was quite a few of them back in that day, I was like, no, I'll wait. I'm not in a hurry, and, I want it to be right. As corny as that might sound to some people, but I'm like, I'm just not one of those kind of dudes, yeah, girl, come on, let's go. So, the moral of this story is just be careful out there, guys, and women, but, we know that women are our weakness, no one can dispute that, or men, whichever preference you got, you just want to be careful. You don't want to get set up. Because there were other stories, and I'll probably share those later. But those are the two stories that kind of come to mind. Now, again, the first one could have been totally innocent, but I wasn't really willing to take that chance. Now, the second one, I smelled a rat. I'm like, okay, you're not a bad-looking woman, and, why are you out here doing this, trying to lure dudes into vans and parking lots of a nightclub, And I'm like, I will share this one because this guy, he used to be a drummer in another band, and we were real good friends. And he got his car taken because this is what happened after a show. A woman came up to him, you pretty good, and, stroking his ego, thank you. And they had a drink or two before, the club closed up, and she said she didn't have a ride home. So would he take her? Would he take her? He's like, sure, no problem. So they got in the car, and she said this to him. Oh, man, I would still like to have another drink, and all the clubs are closed. And it was, I guess, an all-night gas station that had liquor section. She said, would you go in there and get me something? And she said something like this to this effect. If you go in there and get the liquor, perhaps we can get together tonight, and just spend a little more time together. And it's like, okay, he's reading between the lines, and, this is what the lines was reading, and the lines read, we might get busy tonight. So he drove up to the gas station, got out the car with the car running, went to go get the liquor, came back, car gone, and the girl gone, or lady gone. They found this car about a day later. It was all stripped up and parts missing, and can't even drive it now. And again, they found out later that there was a ring of criminals that was working that area, and they would use again the woman as the lure, and the woman would bring the car back to them, and it was a chop shop. They stripped the cars down and and stole the parts, and he felt like a fool. And it's like he fell for the oldest trick in the world, and again, man's biggest weakness. And it was like, you got to be careful. You just got to be careful. Because sometimes you could actually lose your life when it comes to something like that. So you got to really be careful. And mainly, I won't say totally, but mostly musicians, become prey to that kind of game, because that's the setting where women can interact with you. You know, it's very odd and very rare that a woman going in a grocery store pull up to you with her, come up to you in her car and start talking about getting busy and all that. It's like it's just so out of place for that. But it's the norm in the social setting of nightclubs. So I just thought I would share that story with you guys, because you want to be careful out there. You really want to be careful, because one mistake and a poor judgment call can cost you not only your possessions like your car and your money, sometimes your life. And it ain't worth that. So till next time, take care and thanks for watching.